Welcome to another Creeping Net Techie type video by me. I've been doing some renovations on my lab/game room and decided to pick up a CRT TV or two off of Craigslist. So I found two gaming TVs from a really cool dude locally who I'm planning to probably visit again for some more cool stuff. One was a Magnavox and the other is a Mitsubishi CS-2720R. Now, I'm no slouch to TV repair. I first did my CS-2720R Mitsubishi years ago, and of course, more of you are aware of the NEC Multisync 2 CRT monitor I pulled out of a Redmond recycle bin and bodge wired the commonly broken circuit board in the back. The Magnavox runs just fine. It actually has a really good picture. It's coax only though. I do plan to probably run my Roku into this, but right now it's just running my NES and my Atari 2600. The Mitsubishi was DOA. It wouldn't power on, it wouldn't take power, the cord was slashed, so I took it apart, did a little bit of an autopsy. Unfortunately, the set being a slightly newer set from 1989, unlike my CS-2720R was, I had no way of really seeing the fuses or any of that other stuff inside the set. I had to kind of dig around and, you know, look around. It was really messy inside. I swear I thought this thing had been in like a mudslide, or maybe had been sitting outside in the elements for a while. The guy said he didn't know where it came from. It did have stickers on it and I took them all off. So I decided to kind of tackle it as a restoration project. My wife said if I couldn't get it going, we can use it for an art project, and if I can get it going, well, you know, it would be pretty darn cool, because then we have, you know, two old CRT TVs and both of them work good. But yeah, I did some recon before I took on this project. Probably anytime I work on a cathode ray tube device, I'm like this. I also take pictures of the labels inside the case, and then I can reference them while I'm working on the machine. I mean, I've got like the picture tube model. I heard somewhere this is actually a Mitsubishi Diamond scan tube. I also got like the case numbers, chassis numbers, all that fun stuff, production numbers. There you can see I took the back cover off and took a picture of the warning labels for tube servicing inside. And you know, I spent about a good little while taking this TV apart. Moving the neck board was a little tricky. I think the connections were a little corroded. The neck board itself was actually one of the cleanest boards inside the set. Not much dusting. The picture tube was dusty as heck. Had to dust that thing off. You can see under the anode cap just how bad the dust was, and that was after I brushed it off. Strangely enough, the yoke didn't look too bad. It had some dusty spots, but I got them. Removing the speakers, I marked them all so I knew what polarity they were. There's the empty chassis after I pulled everything out of it and cleaned it up. And there's the chassis for the circuit boards and all that, along with the transformer and all that stuff. So yeah, I got it looking pretty nice. I just scrubbed it with wet wipes and cleaned everything out and brushed the back of the CRT with a paintbrush to get all the dust off and put it back together and set it along the wall while I proceeded to work on the inner guts of this thing. The circuit board itself needed a lot of cleaning. I noticed a lot of the RF shields were rusty, but it was like a thin surface rust layer. All the fuses, much to my surprise, were intact and working. I did a lot of visual inspection and looking at connections and making sure they were stiff. I did have to solder that big blue resistor on the right there because the traces were lifting off. Found the focus and brightness adjustment, which doesn't need at all. But otherwise, I mean, the set really didn't look that bad once I cleaned it up. The main part of interest was the bottom of the circuit board, where everything was kind of, you know. The flyback had some bad cold solder joints and cracked joints, and of course the biggest joint was a cracked joint on the relay for startup, so that was when I thought, maybe I found it. So I touched up all the solder joints, cleaned up solder, cleaned up some of the boards, put it back together and powered it on, and lo and behold, it powered up. And it actually seems to produce a pretty nice picture, though it looks like it's been around a magnet for a while. I mean, holy crap, I have to degauss the heck out of this thing. So I used a bunch of old hard drive magnets to do that. So this is the 1989 Mitsubishi CS CS-2720R that I rescued. This is the other one of two sets. The other one is a Magnavox CML chassis set that actually runs pretty nice. But this Mitsubishi is a pretty nice set too. The only thing is I've revived it. It had a cold solder joint on the relay, and you know, let's turn it on. So turns on. I'm using my Nintendo Wii as a test source. As you can see, when it powers up, I'm getting a buzzing noise from in back somewhere, and I'm not quite sure where it is. It could be. I did check the high voltage anode cap. I don't have a flashlight, but it's hard to tell if it's coming from down here or up here. Up here's where the anode cap is, and down here's where the flyback is, so I'm a little confused. I don't see any arcing or sparking. Still getting the degauss working on it, so something might be up with the degauss circuit, not sure, but manual degaussing, I've got a really nice picture. As you notice, the buzzing goes up or down dependent on the brightness levels of whatever screen's being used. Like if I go back to the Wii menu, and I say yes, it quiets down. That really starts buzzing on the Wii menu. Now let's go to a game that's got a black background. Pac-Man. Here we go. Yeah, so when it's on a static screen like this, it's not noisy at all. So, or a dark screen, however, the minute I bring up any sort of menu, it buzzes. So it's like the buzzing depends on whether it's a dark screen or not. Great for old Atari games with the black background, but not for the usual suspects like Mario and all that. It's got a nice picture. I'm really looking forward to getting this thing like tuned up just right after all the other repairs I've made. Anyway, I wanted to show the hard drive magnets I've been using to degauss the screen. To clarify, the darker screen, it seems that the problem with the screen is actually it buzzes more if it's using more power. Like the dark screens, it just doesn't make as much noise. But anytime something with a brighter background like the Wii menu or Super Mario Brothers comes on there, that's when the insane buzzing really begins.